Okay, let me say good morning. There are several things I want to address this morning in terms of just kind of bringing everyone up to date. I first want to start off by talking about the rescues, because that's a number one priority, is getting to the people in the city of Houston who may remain in their homes in stressful situations, and we want to get to them today. That's our goal, is to try to reach everyone today and get them out of stressful situations. And so I just want to go directly to it this morning, because I know everybody's doing a lot of things, and this is going to be a very busy day. And so, Chief Pena, you want to start off and give us a report on where things are there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. So, the Houston Fire Department, to date, in the last 24 hours, we've responded to over 5,500 calls for service. Over 4,000 of those calls have been water-related incidents. The Houston Fire Department, in cooperation with the police department and our partners in this effort, have effected over 290 water rescues in the last since midnight last night. So it's still a very dangerous situation out there. We're expecting more rain. We're expecting to really the demand for our services is going to increase. We still have pending calls that we are trying to get to. We do have resources on scene now, state and federal resources. We have Texas Task Force 1. We also have FEMA on board. We have 350 additional personnel, and we're expecting another 350 in the next 24 to 48 hours, which will really assist our ability and change our response profile to be able to meet the demand. We're asking the public again, the roads are dangerous. Stay out of the roads if you don't need to be out driving around or walking around. It's very difficult to assess the road conditions. Just a little bit of water covering the roads, we don't know what impact the rain has had, and washing away the roads, that causes a lot of hazards. So please, if you don't have to be on the road, and we recommend that you stay indoors, that's going to be the safest thing to do. Call 911 if you need assistance. Okay, 311 is another avenue if you can't get through. What we recommend is that when you call 911, stay on the line. Don't hang up, because that just creates more calls. It creates more work, because our dispatchers are now calling back these numbers. So if you call 911, stay on the line, and we will address your issue. Thanks.
Thanks. So from midnight to where we are today, the fire department has rescued about 290, and we fully recognize that there are many other people that are out there in distressful situations, and we intend to get to every one of them. I'm going to have someone specifically talk about 911 in a few minutes, but I want to focus on the rescue portion. Chief Oscillator.
Thank you, Mayor. The Houston Police Department remains in a tactical alert posture with all of our officers working a minimum of 12-hour shifts. We've handled 56,000 calls for 911 services since our operational period that began at 6 p.m. on Friday. To date, we've completed the rescue of 2,000 Houstonians and members of our community. And as of this moment, as of this press conference, we have approximately 185 critical rescue requests that are still pending. Our goal today with our partners at the fire department and our other partners that are coming in from around the state and country is to complete the rescues of all critical missions today. And again, because of the weather and the lighting conditions, we cannot use our boats at night. Most of the boats don't have lights, and so we can't do it, but they should be out on the water now. The last thing that I want to mention in terms of the public safety emergency is the looting situation. We've had 4 people that tried to loot, and they were arrested. After these events, frequently, especially once the natural disaster piece of it, where it's active flood going on, folks move in from around other states and even other cities and other regions to come in and loot and create problems. I can tell you that we do have every one of our officers deployed, and we have police officers from throughout the state of Texas that are on their way to actually augment our police force. So we will have plenty of resources, and the one thing you can be assured, that if you try to commit a criminal offense, especially try to take advantage of our citizens that have already been victimized enough by Mother Nature, you can be assured you'll be arrested. Lastly, a lot of cars, many cars have been towed throughout the city. And if you want to know where your car is at, even though I can tell you it should not be your priority to try to drive somewhere to find your car or assess your car right now, because the weather emergency continues and the threat from the weather continues. But you can find out if it's actually been towed at findmytowedcar.com, or call 713-308-8580. That's 713-308-8580. And lastly, I just want to, on behalf of all of us, express the way we feel about our community. A lot of people are frustrated. They don't understand why, when we send trucks and we tell you we've sent trucks, we can't get to. Unfortunately, those trucks can only go so far in moving water, even those big trucks. And so hopefully today we'll get to the rest of you. Please don't give up on us, and none of us are going to give up. So that's our goal for today, Mayor.
Thank you. And the goal is rescue. And that's the major focus for the day. That's my directive, is that we want to focus on getting people where they are and getting them out of their homes or whatever their stressful situation may be. And in that regard, we have more assets that we're working with today than we had yesterday, and there are more assets that are on the way. There are some that are still being slowed down because the streets are impassable. And then at the same time, there are a lot of assistance that's coming from outside of the city. I certainly, again, I want to thank Mayor Martin Wash out of Boston because he's sending down some high water rescue equipment and vehicles, and I thank him for that. He's also providing clothes and other things that are needed for people who are in our shelters. I thank him for that, as well as additional assistance, and that's coming from many of the mayors as well. But in terms of reaching us, 911, I know there have been a number of observations made about 911, and so I want Joe Lord to come and kind of give us a status report on where we are, because we're placing a high priority, making sure that when people call, they're able to reach us, and then once they reach us, then we need to respond to them. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Joe Lott. I'm with the Houston Emergency Center. And as of this 9 o'clock this morning, we received approximately 75,000 calls that we did process as well. And we've gotten our queue numbers down to 10, meaning those are the calls that's kind of pending that we do have a hold. That's a huge difference from yesterday. They were probably about 120 to about 250, down to about 10 to 15 on queue today. So yes, we are receiving a tremendous amount of calls. It's an extreme emergency for everyone, the whole region, of course. But we are encouraging citizens to call, when they do call 911, to stay on the line. Do not hang up, because that just expands our trunk system, which overloads it, and it just puts out a whole about numbers of people that we can't get to. So stay on the line. What we've also initiated last night is what's a voice-activated system that notifies people that if they do call 911, that their call is being processed. And that's a significant event, because what citizens were experiencing earlier was a constant ring and thinking that our system was down. Our system hasn't been down. It's just the long way to call. So stay on the line. We're also encouraging citizens that if they have received any calls from relatives, if they have contacted 911 previously, do not follow up with that. Do not test 911 right now. We are just experiencing abundant calls. But we do have a good grasp on that, and we are encouraging people, if they do need 911, please stay on the line, and we will process that call.
Are there any people, apparently people are calling for status reports? What should people call for? What should they call?
Well, extreme emergencies, life-threatening situations, of course. And status reports is not life-threatening, okay? So we are discouraging those types of calls, just because we really want to keep those lines open for life-threatening situations. Okay, do not follow up with it. But we are receiving all types of messages from all around the region. We're processing them, we're putting in the lines. This is just an extreme emergency. We understand where everyone's coming from, but we do hope that the citizens do understand that we are processing the calls, and hopefully help will be on their way. We want to go ahead and get the right information from the callers to provide the right resources. But for right now, we are doing a tremendous job for the first responders, and we are processing those calls, but we are just asking patience. We're trying to do a huge amount on a regular basis. We process about 8,000 to 9,000 calls, and as mentioned, we are about to 75,000 calls this morning, processed and served.
So a big emphasis on 911. We want to assure people that we will respond to them. Do not hang up. If you hang up, you go back to the bottom. So don't hang up. We will get to you. So the calls are coming in through 911. Whatever staffing we need to do to make sure that we are operating at full capacity, we want to make sure we do that. And then once they come in, they're in the queue. And then they are forwarded then to Houston Fire Department or the police department or whatever the department is to deal with them, and then we'll work through that. And again, on the rescue portion, the emphasis, again, rescue people, especially seniors, those with disabilities, those in life-threatening situations. Okay, that is the focus, and the goal is to get to them before the day is out. I want to also talk about. Let me talk about the Addicts Barker situation because they have started to release water from Barker Addicts, and they're releasing. As of an hour ago, about 2,600 cubic feet per second from Addicts, and about 2,000 cubic feet per second from Barker, for roughly about 5,000 cubic feet. That was about an hour. They're going to gradually increase that up to about 8,000 cubic feet, which will go up till about noon. And the reason is the amount of water that's behind Barker and Addicts. If they don't release it, then it will go around, specifically Addicts. It will go around, and it will create even a major problem. When that water is released, it's going to come downstream. It's going to add water to the whole Buffalo Bayou. For right now, the flood level is steady for right now. But as they increase the water and it comes down, the water level along Buffalo Bayou, in all probability, will increase. When I asked this morning Russ Poppy from the Harris County Flood Control District, could he quantify what that means? How much water will that increase in Buffalo Bayou? At that point, they were still doing their modeling and could not specify at that time. But the water is but water in the Buffalo Bayou is not going to be going down soon. Right now, it's steady, even with the release. But the more they release, it could go up, and so it could create even an additional problem, additional flooding. And I'm asking them to quantify, to give me some additional information on that, and we are scheduled to talk again somewhere around noon or a little after noon. So I do want to highlight that situation. They are releasing water, but it's a gradual release, and what they're indicating that if they don't do it, let's say they hold back the water and it builds up, and then it will be forced, it will go around Addicts, and the situation would be exponentially worse. So this is a gradual release. And Steve, you're more familiar. You want to speak to it more?
Mayor, if you like.
Steve Costello.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we were advised yesterday by the Corps that they were going to start discharging out of both Addicts and Barker. Generally, before a flood, what happens is the gates are closed so that they can contain the water that's coming in from upstream, so that downstream flooding can continue. And so the issue here has to be the fact that they're getting a lot of water in the watershed upstream of the dams, and they're concerned about the water levels rising very, very quickly. So what they're doing now is what we would call a controlled release rate. And at the same time, while they're releasing the water out of the reservoir, they're also real-time monitoring the water levels in Buffalo Bayou. As the mayor said, they're going to try to maintain what's happening there today. So you're not going to see a gradual decrease in Buffalo Bayou. You're actually going to see it at the current level as it is today. If we get more rain downstream, or if they get more water upstream, then that's probably going to change. But we're not anticipating any increase in flooding downstream along Buffalo Bayou. There was a comment that some of the residents don't really know where they live next to what bayou, but if you live next to a major stream that's in between I-10 and Westheimer, that's Buffalo Bayou. So those are the neighborhoods that are going to be challenged over the next couple of hours and the next couple of days, by the way. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Steve. let me just say to you that this is a dynamic situation, and things could change. They could change by the hour. They could change literally by the day. It's very dynamic. But as we get information, what I will tell you is that we will provide that information to you. And so I've asked them to quantify after they do their modeling. And if at 12 o'clock, if there's a need to increase more, I want them to tell me that they are going to increase more. And if they increase more, I want them to tell me, is that going to raise the level in Buffalo Bayou and get some, whether or not there's going to be more flooding of homes in the area. So this is what we know at this time, but this is a very dynamic situation, and things literally change day by day. And then I want to talk about the Northeast Water Plant. Because as of 6 p.m. on yesterday, you have tributaries that are flowing into Lake Houston. And as you know, the waters continue to rise. More water is flowing into Lake Houston, more than can exit out of Lake Houston into the Gulf. And as of 6 p.m. on yesterday, the Northeast Water Plant was completely submerged. And what that means is that we're trying to pump it out. We're working on pumping it out, and I'll have a better sense over the next couple of hours. I know Public Works is working on it, working with others to try to pump it out so that it doesn't cause the Northeast Water Plant to go down. But as of 6 p.m. on yesterday, because of more water flowing into Lake Houston than we can get out, the Northeast Water Plant was submerged, and now we're working to get that out. If we can't get it out, if we can't get the pumps in, it will have an impact on our system, but I can speak to that a lot better in the next couple of hours. Howard, is Howard here?
I'm right, Howard, sir.
Is there anything else that you...
I think you covered it all. I think that's a good example of how dynamic the situation is.
Okay. Because the reality is that water is continuing to rise. We were impacted throughout the entire region. It's not just the city of Houston, but throughout the entire region. No problems with respect to the other plants. The Southeast plant, I think, is still operating at a 40% production.
Yes, sir.
But the Northeast plant yesterday was fine, but now as of 6 p.m., it is totally submerged, but we're working to see if we can get it out, and so it doesn't have to shut down. But I won't know that until another couple of hours, and then I'll let you know, and then what the impact that can be. With respect to the number of people that are in our shelters, as of now, well, no, as of the time before I came out, that number was about 5,500 that are in all of our shelters, and I suspect that number is going to rise. And so we have been talking with the Red Cross, our partners. Where's my Red Cross partner? I don't see him. He's not here.
He's working.
Oh, he's at work. Okay. He's getting more cots. That's the other thing that the mayor of Boston is sending in. He's sending us more cots. But the number right now is about 5,500, and I suspect by the end of the day that number will rise exponentially. Some people are just needing to come in from their homes for the evening, for the night. For example, there were some who came in from the Maryland area, came in for the night, and then they are getting back to their home, some other place living with relatives. But 5,500 for now. That number is expected to rise. We're working with Red Cross and our other partners to make sure that we have the supplies, the food. People are needing clothing. Literally, people are coming in, and they're coming in wet. They're needing clothing. We've asked some of our business partners for things like diapers, baby formula, things of that nature. We've got kids, babies. We got all the way up to senior citizens, and they are needing everything. So they're needing clothing, food, medical supplies. And we have a number of partners. We're needing volunteers, whether it's at George R. Brown or whether it's at M.O. Campbell. So we're needing that. But the things are dynamic. People who may not have been in a crisis state yesterday may find themselves in a crisis state today. And so what we want to do is to make it shelters available for them so they can come out of their crisis situation as they transition through this particular crisis. I think I have covered all that I I needed to cover for this morning. If you have any questions, yes.
Mayor, can you talk about the Harvey release, the relief fund?
Oh, the Hurricane Harvey Disaster Relief Fund, that's is available. You know, similar when we had the storm last year, we set up the Houston Relief Fund. We've now set that up, the Hurricane Harvey Disaster Relief Fund, that will be needed as people, after the storm has passed. The needs for people and families will continue. Certainly, they're going to be making requests on FEMA and other agencies, but what we discovered last year is that you have to have some immediate concerns, whether it's in housing, clothing, transportation, you name it. Houstonians and others stepped up in a major, major way last time, so that fund has been established and people are already starting to contribute. But that will be a tremendous need. I want to thank people like Clay Walker and others who's already reached out to me and said, look, we are available. I want to thank people like Kevin Hart, who's already indicating and asking people to give. I want to thank all, and there are a number. I can't, you know, whether it's Exxon, Shell, all of them have indicated that some are contributing to Red Cross. There's a tremendous need there. Some will be contributing to the Hurricane Disaster Relief Fund, which is Houston in that area. So that's set up. Yes, sir.
Mayor Turner, Telemundo Houston here. We want to know, I know we have a lot of people stranded, and then Spanish-speaking people calling 911. Do we have enough translators? Because this is a diverse city, and we speak more than 100 languages. Do we have all the personnel that is needed to respond to those individuals that probably cannot communicate in English as well?
Well, let me just say, we always need assistance. I'm certainly going to be calling on many of the elected officials. We've been meeting with them on a regular basis and asking them to speak to people in their respective districts, or the city council districts, whether it's legislative district, senatorial districts, you name it. But you know, I'm hesitant to say that you have enough, especially when you're dealing with a dynamic situation that literally can change by the hour, by the day. But let me just say, let me ask, and I hope they don't mind. You know, my Spanish is pretty good. But you know, every now and then I have to call on someone for added assistance. So let me ask Chief Acevedo, then followed by Chief Pena.
Thank you, Mayor. La pregunta es si tenemos suficiente personas que hablan español en el centro 911, y no importa el idioma, tenemos servicios y tenemos muchos empleados que hablan español. Así que si llaman al 911, marca el 911, acuérdese. Si tiene un recording que dice que no cuelgue, porque si cuelga va a ir abajo de la lista para la asistencia. Si marca el 911, espere hasta que hable con una operadora. Los operadores sí hablan español y otros idiomas. En esta comunidad tenemos más de 100 idiomas que se hablan y cada idioma se puede comunicar con nosotros sin problema.
¿Qué es lo que tiene que hacer esa gente? Que quizás llaman y quizás no puede escuchar, obviamente, a alguien que hable su idioma y quizás están desesperados y dicen voy a colgar y...
No cuelgue, tenga paciencia, explíquele en español, cualquier idioma, explique qué necesita y lo van a poner en un hold hasta que ponga una persona que habla español. Tenga paciencia, estamos entrenados, esto no es nada nuevo. Todos los días en esta ciudad tenemos habitantes que llaman al 911 que no hablan inglés y todos los días le damos gran servicio.
Bueno, mire, quisiera decir lo mismo que dijo el jefe de policías a la comunidad habla hispana. Si llaman al 911, va a haber alguien que los atienda, va a haber alguien que hable el idioma. Lo que les pedimos es que no cuelguen la línea. Si cuelgan la línea, entonces, o si agarran una línea que suena y suena y suena, no la cuelguen, porque lo que pasa es que se van hasta abajo de la lista la segunda vez que vuelvan a hablar. Comuniquen las emergencias al 911 y va a haber gente que los ayude en darle el servicio.
Let me also call on Dennis Tereski, who's over Homeland Security, and he can also speak to that issue as well. Dennis.
So, well, first of all, to address the language issue, Most of our call takers in 911 center are Spanish speakers. And we also have a language line. If we have other languages that we don't have, we can handle that. So the other thing I would say is our emergency management office is at level 1, which means that all the city departments are engaged in coordinating. We also have partners, Metro, U.S. Coast Guard, Red Cross, too many to name, primarily FEMA and the Texas Department of Emergency Management are our resource partners. The issue now is typically when you have an event, you have a response and you have a recovery. This is an ongoing event, as the mayor said a number of times. It's dynamic and things continue to change. So we're still in the stage of the incident is still happening, and we're having to adjust every day to deal with the cascading effects of rising water, additional rain, and all those other things. The hurricane and the tropical storm has passed, but we're still getting weather. But now, as we see from the dam and the release of water, these are all cascading effects that we have to deal with. And so our main job in the EOC is to bring all of our partners in. Our departments are experts at doing what they do. We're in a situation where we have to coordinate all those activities. We have to bring in additional partners and additional resources. All that has to be coordinated, and it's, as I said, it's dynamic, it's continuing. And so we're in day 3 of an event, and who knows how much longer it's going to go, but we're all working very hard to coordinate what we do and at the same time provide the necessary information to the public.
Thank you. Leading up to Saturday, we were preparing for this hurricane and tropical storm. Now we are in the recovery phase, and so all hands on deck on the recovery phase. So we are putting forth we put forth a necessary plan. That plan has to be adapted based upon things, the dynamics, the changing dynamics. But we will address them as they come. We'll deal with them. But we are now in the recovery phase. But again, the focus for us today is to get to those individuals who are in their homes or apartments that may be in stressful situations, and to get them out of there. Any questions? Any others?
Mayor, could you
Yes.
talk a little bit about how this has impacted hospitals here, clinical services in the city, and what you're doing to try to address any kind of impacts that have happened or that you expect could happen?
Do we have someone who's going to speak to that?
I can't
Dennis, come on.
So we have SETRAC, which is Southeast Trauma Coordinating Group, which is part of the state's process. They're coordinating with all the hospitals. We've had some incidents where hospitals had to be evacuated because of water. They coordinate all of that. So we have a team within our EOC that coordinates all the medical issues. In terms of the health of the people in our shelters, we have teams that are going to be there to take care of the health needs of those folks. But we have somebody that's coordinating with the hospitals to make sure that if they're overloaded, people are moved to the proper places and they got the resources they need.
And the reason I don't want to specifically necessarily speak to the hospital, that falls on the Harris County Hospital District, so I don't want to speak out of turn. And I do want to know, it's response and recovery, okay? Response and recovery.
Mayor,
Yes,
in
Cynthia.
terms of the humanity of this event,
Yes.
so many of our friends and neighbors are frustrated, they're struggling, they're tired. As the leader of our city, they understand that they have to wait, but what's the one thing, the one message that you want our neighbors to know?
That we are sensitive and we are going to be very, very responsive to their every need. I understand frustration. When you have a storm of this magnitude, where the effects and the impact will be over an extended period of time, we're not talking about a few days. Quite frankly, we're not even talking about a few weeks. We're talking about months, literally months. In that time period, people are going to be frustrated. If you find yourself in a stressful situation in your home, and you're in your home and there's water in your home, okay, you don't want to be in that water. But you also know you can't go outside either because there's water outside. You are going to be in a stressful situation. I got that. I understand that. If they're Houstonians, for example, if they're angry and they voice their frustration to some of us, let's say, I understand that. First responders, we understand that. Okay? They're the ones that's in that stressful situation. But what I want them to know is that we'll be doing everything we can to address their situation regardless of what the level of their problem may be, okay? Circumstances are different, but whatever those circumstances are, we are here for them. And we'll be up, we'll stay up 24 hours, we'll do whatever we need to do in order to address their situation, and we will worry about the cost and all of that later. Right now, we want to address their situation.
So this event is certainly epic. Is there anything that city coordination is doing differently than maybe that was different from Alicia or Allison or Ike? Because of this, is there anything that's being new or different, or maybe something that learning curve? I don't know.
Well, you know, every storm is different.
Yeah.
Every storm has its own personality. This one is different because it's so widespread and it's ongoing. Okay, this is a tropical hurricane, Harvey, that hit, then went up north, northwest, started turning a little northeast, and then coming back down, and then going back up again. So this is one of those storms that didn't just come through and move out. This is one of those storms that came in, stalled for a few days, coming back, and then going back up. And so we have to all be patient, okay? We have to all be patient, but we also are very much engaged, and we're going to be responsive to people's needs and situations. Yes, ma'am.
How are the evacuations going around the reservoirs? Are people leaving? I know it's not mandatory, but do you know if people are leaving around that?
I can speak to what's happening around the Barker Addicts area. Below, I think people are we're trying to gauge what the overall impact will be, okay? So for example, as they release water, if it's going to increase the flow and create more flooding for homes, then of course people will have to make the adjustments. And I want to make sure that we provide people information in real time so that they have an opportunity to take whatever necessary steps they need to take. And that's why we're going to be in constant communication with the Harris County Flood Control District to get a better read as to how much they plan to release and what the impact will be downstream.
And one other thing, for the homes that were not in a designated floodplain and they may not have FEMA insurance and things, is there any help for those people?
That's where these relief funds are going to be established. For example, if they're in a situation and they may not have insurance, or they may not be able to get assistance from FEMA, or as what we discovered, what they get may not be enough, then that's the purpose of the relief funds, okay? This is going to cost a great deal on so many different levels. And oftentimes we talk about cost, but let me tell you, the emotional cost that this storm is having, that's hard to measure, but for people for example, in the shelters and people at home, the emotional cost. And that's what we have to be very sensitive to and respond to. And that's why it's important for people to know that we are going to do everything in our power to address the situation and to minimize the adverse impact.
Mayor, you mentioned
Mike.
the Northeast Water Plant had been submerged, but it's still operating. At what point is it no longer able to operate? And that's the city's largest plant, right? So like, what's the impact if that goes down?
If you want to assume the worst, that means, let's say, if it drops below 20% capacity, I think most of the Houston water supply would be okay, but it may impact the additional servicing area more so. And then there's a certain requirement by TCEQ that even if it's not an overall negative impact on quality, if it drops below 20% of capacity, then we're obligated to give a notice to boil water and things of that nature. I think something similar was done when Hurricane Ike came through. But we're trying to avoid that situation. Mike, I'll have a better read maybe somewhere around noon. But they're doing their best to try to get the water out. And so it's going to require pumps and getting equipment in. I think there's some heavy equipment that we're trying to move in to get that water out, to keep it functioning. That's the goal, is to keep it functioning. But, we shall see. I will have a better read on that over the next couple hours, and then I can speak specifically to what the impact will be.
But just to clarify, when you say submerged, that means the workers are dealing with water in their work area rather than water having contaminated the water supply.
How would you want to speak specifically to that?
Mike, I think that the issue is that the plant.
Right, yeah, you gotta go.
Okay, I'm sorry. The plant is underwater, and they can't get to the equipment, the filters, the pumps as such, to be able to do any adjustments or any maintenance on those pieces of equipment. We're continuing to come up with potential solutions to pump that water out. The challenge is we've got to run it a long way away to find a place to pump it to, so it doesn't just come back into the system.
For people who are in that evacuation zone, would you tell us where you suggest they go and if there's a suggested route that they take
When you say evacuation zone,
in the voluntary evacuation area?
which area are we talking about?
That's a county.
I think that's for the county. There's not an evacuation zone in the city.
Okay, so is there like a suggested place that they go or anything in the city?
No, not in the city. But for those who find themselves in a stressful situation and wanting their homes, we are providing shelters for them. Okay, and there are a number of shelters that are set up throughout the city. And if there's a need to open more, we'll do that. Sure.
Kind of a related question on the idea of evacuations. I know you've addressed the idea of emptying out the city ahead of time, but was there any discussion of a partial measure of those in floodways, those in floodplains, that sort of thing?
No. When the county judge and I visited about this issue, because the whole issue of evacuation came up like 2 days before. Number one, no one knew really the direction that the Hurricane Act was going, how Harvey was going to go. No one knew. So it's kind of hard to plan for anything when you don't know whether it's going to hit. Now, if it was a situation where we were going to be in the direct path of Hurricane Harvey, then that's a different situation. And certainly we would have considered evacuation more so. But we were not in the direct path when it turns out to be. We were not. If you can recall the last time that we evacuated, and I'm told, you can correct me if I'm wrong, when we evacuated and it was not fully, it was chaotic, and I was told that about 100 people ended up losing their lives in that situation. So in this situation, the decision was not to evacuate. It's difficult to evacuate 6.5 million people. Let me just finish. Unless you're providing fuel and all those other things and turning the lanes, the country flow and all of that, it's just very, very difficult. The best thing was to tell people to stay in place and to make the necessary preparations for food, medicine, supplies, and things of that nature. Now, what we also attempted to do is that as the situation changed, for example, and the water was coming up in certain areas that we knew would probably flood, like the Greens Point area, we immediately moved to set up the M.O. Campbell. And that has been much smoother this time around than before. But both the judge and I felt very strongly that for the city of Houston and Harris County, the best strategy was to shelter where they were.
Do you still need help with people with boats and things like that?
Look, any assistance or people that can help us to evacuate people in a stressful situation, I will take it, okay? Who's ever close to someone that's in their home and may need to move out, we'll take it. We certainly want to coordinate with police and fire and Homeland Security, but we will take it. What's been and I can't say thank you enough to neighbors, Houstonians, Samaritans, who have simply stepped up. They are our partners, okay? And so if you know individuals, for example, especially seniors, people with disabilities that may still be in their homes needing to be rescued, let us know. But I do want to thank, again, and I'm not going to say I'm amazed by Houstonians, but in many ways I'm amazed by how Houstonians can go that extra step. And Houstonians have simply been terrific, okay? How they have stepped up and really assisted. And we could not even be where we are without the help of Houstonians and others who have been so very generous. People have come in. We had some people who I think were here for a conference that were in town. They couldn't do their conference, but they went over to the George R. Brown this morning to serve as volunteers. You know, what can you say? But say thank you. Yes, sir, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Mayor, some of our viewers are concerned that we're so close to September 1st and everyone is thinking about SB4, even though this is a tragic event. And they're concerned that if they call 911, if they call the police, if they're stranded, someone is going to probably dig into their immigration status. What can we say to those folks?
If you are in a stressful situation, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your religion is, I don't care what your language is, you come and take advantage of every service that we have. If you're in a stressful situation and you need help, you call us for help. We want you to call. There is absolutely no reason why anyone should not call, okay? And I and others will be the first ones to stand up with you if you need help. And someone comes and they require help, and then for some reason there's somebody tries to deport them, I will represent them myself, okay? So no, if you're in a stressful situation, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your status is, I do not want you to run the risk of losing your life or a family member because you're concerned about SB4 or anything else. Put SB4 now in a shelf right now. Right now, what's important is that if you have a need as a result of this storm, we want to meet your need. It's as simple as that, non-negotiable. Call, don't hesitate to call, we will respond.
Can you say something in Spanish in that regard, the police chief?
Yeah, if you had not asked for the police chief, I would have done it myself. But since I try to be direct and give you a direct, since you asked for him, I'm going to let him do it. But only this time, next time you ask the mayor, El Cade is prepared to respond.
Yeah. I was going to say something to the mayor about, we joke too much. Okay.
La gente que está en estos momentos estresada y que quiere buscar ayuda y que está pidiendo ayuda, pero también tiene ese temor de que quizás no van a poder salir bien salvados con la pregunta esa de ¿tienen papeles o no?
Mire, para pensar, la prensa hispana no hable más del SB4. Tenemos que concentrarnos en salvar vida, el rescate de vida. No le pongan el temor más a esta comunidad. Ellos saben bien claro que nosotros estamos aquí para servir, para ser humanos y como dice el alcalde, estamos interesados en darle el rescate, la ayuda, lo que necesita a la comunidad. Comunidad americana, latina, china, no nos importa, blanca, negra, rica o pobre. Así que por favor, vamos a hablar lo que necesitamos que hablar ahora. Y el peligro no es el deportación, el peligro es la pérdida de vida. Les garantizo, usted lo dio del alcalde, que estamos aquí para servirle. Marque el 911, llame a los oficiales, llame a los bomberos, aquí estamos a sus órdenes. No tenga temor.
And lastly, let me just say, the governor and I talked yesterday at about 6 o'clock, talked about whatever needs that the city of Houston continues to have, and what I indicated to him, our focus was certainly on rescue and the need for additional assets, high water vehicles, boats, things of that nature. And he assured me that whatever that can be done will be done. And I appreciate the call from the governor on yesterday, and it was a very fruitful and productive conversation. And that's the point that I want to stress. There's collaboration at all levels, federal, state, city, county, you name it, on all levels. And there are a number of people who are calling in from all over the country. I want to thank them for that. There'll be a number of mutual aid agreements that we're reaching with our various partners. I want to thank everyone, from the business community, the nonprofit community, all the way down just to individuals for just stepping up. I do want to highlight and say thank you to our first responders in particular, police officers and firefighters, and those who are out there on the front line, many of them even late at night, many that are working these extra shifts. There are some that were working straight, 36 hours straight. So I want to thank them. And I especially want to thank them when many of them in their own homes have taken on water and their own families are in stressful situations. In spite of that, in spite of that, they are out here doing their very best to meet the needs of Houstonians in our city. And that's the point that I want to make, is that even the importance is so important that our employees will even leave their own homes in order to assist others. That's how committed we are to addressing the needs of the people in this city. So again, dynamic situation as events happen, as they change. But what I will commit to you is that if there's something comes up that changes or that people need to know, I will provide that information to you as quickly as I receive it. And so we'll continue to follow things by the minute. And then if things should change that people should be aware of, we will step out and let you know. Okay? Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.